Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Mindshifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Rice, and his wife Jeannie. Michael and Jeannie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeannie Rice.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to Mindshifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Rice. Today is our Memorial Day celebration, number 288. We welcome you to the show. We're here in awesome, sunny Florida, beautiful weather today. And hopefully a little bit later we might head out to the beach. I'm sorry for you all that are up there in the cold still. But we have a great show going on for today. We had some callers that called in on Thursday. We asked them to call back in today so we could pick up on the conversation. So if you are one of those callers, please give us a call. Our number is 646-200-4169. Press 1 to let me know you want to talk to Michael, and we look forward to hearing from you. Hello, Michael.
Hi, sweetie. And everybody, welcome to the show. We're delighted that you're here. Honored to be with you. Honored to be able to be of support in this process of healing ourselves, each other, and the planet. Of course, when Jeannie mentions, for those who are old-timers on the show now, when Jeannie mentions the Memorial Day celebration, one of our commitments in this work is to be part of the team that changed the world and put an end to planet war, or to put an end to war on planet Earth. I guess it's kind of accurate right now, isn't it? Planet war. Do you know there are 30 wars going on planet Earth right now? 30 countries. Well, not 30 countries, because some of those countries are doing more than one slaughter routine. But anyway, we're here to assist in making a shift. Not by fighting against war, not by resisting war, but by healing war within ourselves. How do you do that? Well, there's this awesome tool that in the ancient Aramaic language was called forgiveness. And as our culture teaches, forgiveness looks like something you do to let somebody else off the hook for the fact that you're in some sort of pain or turmoil. We're going to nix that whole idea. Stop forgiving people. Stop forgiving yourself. And engage in true forgiveness. What is true forgiveness? True forgiveness is the tool with which you go inside yourself and rid yourself of your hostility, your fear, your pain, your trauma, your drama, and put an end to the state of war. So we're looking to put an end to the state of war internally, and what that's going to do is create a critical mass shift on planet Earth. I think we're close to the shift. So we invite you to engage in the forgiveness process. If you're not familiar with it, please go to our website, www.whyagain.com. whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, there's a link that says download worksheets. The first 6 links under that section will give you the whole, I believe it's 7 links now, will give you the whole forgiveness story, how to do it. And it will personally guide you through the process. One of the games the non-being mind plays out in order to avoid forgiveness, in order to avoid dealing with what they need to deal with is, oh, I don't understand this. I can't do it. I can't figure it out. Okay, so don't figure it out. Just download the MP3s that will personally guide you through the forgiveness process, step by step by step. And then, if you come across a genuine question, rather than just avoidance confusion, which is what most people do, they'll find a way to distract themselves and avoid it. we're going to invite you, if you come up with a question after you've listened to one or two or three or all four of the radio shows that guide you through the process, then we would love to hear your questions. We would love to help you to refine the process of forgiveness in your world and in your life. So that's what we're here to do, and we have David and Dr. Tim on the phone who are working with people and assisting in carrying this process forward. Gentlemen, how do you be today, and anything exciting to report?
Well, we're doing beautifully here in Illinois. Little rain, but other than that, it's unseasonably warm in the 60s, hopefully today, and just chugging along, doing a lot of witnessing of people transforming their lives with this process, and just very pleased and proud to be able to say I'm part of it.
Awesome, fabulous. David, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing very well, Michael. It's a beautiful day as well here in Theodosia, Missouri, and Heartland, and nice to have this weather break to like a lot of things that are going on. And you were talking about critical mass, and that you believe that it's getting a little bit closer. And I think with each day, with each person, then there is a shift, a level of consciousness, and there are so many activities that are going on, at least from my perspective, in the universe with different programs and people's involvement with the radio show here. You know, it's been a little over a year since you guys began this, and the following and the support that it's having and the interest that people are showing. I think that there are more and more people that are connecting with, doing their own personal work, and with these particular tools, then it accelerates and takes the process to that new level of consciousness. And, you know, to me, it's what it's always about. It's about, for me, is for me to raise my level of consciousness. And I say raise my level of consciousness, it's really about me connecting with my true creative essence. And when I do that, my consciousness raises up, connecting with someone else, doing the same thing. And when I'm in my true creative essence, it's impossible for me to do anything except things that are producing love and acceptance and kindness, thoughtfulness, and so forth. I like what Buddha said, you know, before doing anything, he said, ask, is this kind and is this necessary? To me, that's a new level of consciousness to be that. And if I'm living in that, then it's impossible for me to do anything other than reflect that back. As well as if I'm in hostility or fear, it's impossible for me to reflect back anything other than hostility and fear. So I'm doing well. Glad to be on the show.
Cool, awesome. And you know about that idea of consciousness, and it's a word that many minds have been trained through fear to shut down in the presence of. Oh, if somebody's talking about consciousness, then there's something wrong with them, and you better cut off from them, or you're going to get lost in their thing, and that means we're not going to have you as part of our property. That's really the game. But just to talk about consciousness for a little bit, and the definition we'll use for the word, and that is consciousness is what I'm aware of. And many people suffer from a state of lower consciousness. In other words, they are not aware of themselves as the awesome human beings that they are, or that they possess or have a human life. And we define a human life very simply, and that is hold a newborn child. When you hold a newborn child, you have a consciousness of the active presence of love. People who go through life, however, in hostility or fear, have what's referred to as a lower consciousness, that is what they're aware of, is the world of hostility and fear. There's no awareness that the possibility is that you could bring love to bear on this situation, that in that situation you could have a higher consciousness, that is, you could bring love to bear of the lower consciousness, the hostility or fear, and by doing so, you can bring healing to it. Many people have come from a cultural system and from family systems whose consciousness is totally hostility and fear, and there's no awareness that there's any other possibility. And so in the middle of a conflict, the only consciousness possible for that person, the only awareness possible is that of, I have to rage to protect myself, I have to beat up on you to protect myself, and look at how you're beating up on me and how you're causing my pain. And if my consciousness is made up of you're causing my pain, then I'm in a state of denial and dissociation, and I am unconscious of what's going on within me. Therefore, I'm stuck in that lower state. What we're here to do, and there's no mythical, no magical, and nothing to run away from for those who've been brainwashed that that's a fearsome word, that's a word you should avoid and people associated with it. That's all about possessing people. That's all about keeping you within a certain camp as opposed to expanding your consciousness. If somebody can keep you limited, the tendency is to be able to keep you under control. And under control, you're a good source of money and all the other things that go along with it, power, prestige, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, pardon me, when we talk about developing a higher consciousness, we're saying, are you willing to move up the ladder into another kind of awareness? And that is, in the insanity of the way our world has trained us, can you bring the presence of love? And one of the ways to do that is through forgiveness. And the type of forgiveness that we're talking about, and I shouldn't say type of forgiveness because there's only one type of forgiveness, and that is where you go in and you collapse, you dissolve the lower consciousness, you dissolve the awareness of the hostility or fear. You remove those energies, so those energies no longer govern what you're aware of, no longer govern what you are conscious of, and no longer control your consciousness. And you then have the ability to move up the ladder into what all of the masters of the past ages were trying to get us to do, and that was to become conscious that we are human beings made of the stuff called love. And everybody who's ever withdrawn from the insanity of the world for a while, now you go to the military mind and it's going to tell you war is necessary, that's the game, that's what will solve the world's problems, and that is a certain consciousness. And when you confront that consciousness with the insanity of killing people, it will tend to go into a rage, and its consciousness will be that of rage and attack. And so to bring a shift to that, to the whole game of war, is to recognize if I have a consciousness of hostility or fear, I'm going to tend to deny ownership for that, and I'm going to want to blame somebody else, and I'm going to want them to change. And if they won't change, I'll make war on them, whether my war is verbal, emotional, financial, or with guns and bombs, doesn't matter. It's all the same game. So when each individual becomes conscious of, develops a consciousness that I'm capable of some form of hostility or fear, therefore I have a problem, therefore I have a healing opportunity. Now, the person who goes from the blame and it's all everybody else's fault to a consciousness of responsibility, all of a sudden has more options than the person who is just stuck in the hostility, fear, and blame game. And so what we're looking to do is to develop that higher awareness and take people into a higher level of understanding. And so that's where we want to head.
Do you ever sign on or something in the chat room? So there's another host?
Okay. If someone is signing in as host, Jeannie's just informing me that you're trying to sign in as host. Jeannie is the host of this show on the website, and you keep bumping her out. So if there's another host from the Angel Radio Network, if you wouldn't mind signing in differently than as a host so that Jeannie can stay on and keep the chat room in tow. So we would appreciate that. Okay, thank you for doing it. The new worksheet, we've got a brand new worksheet now. It's subtle refinements, and one of the changes to the worksheet is our young lady friend Sarah in Fort Lauderdale. I think Sarah lives in Fort Lauderdale. Anyway, down in that area, she sent us a revised worksheet, and she had a really good piece of the puzzle, actually one I've been looking to resolve for some time. And so, Sarah, if you're listening, that's integrated into the new worksheet that's on the website, and that's in step 3. I like the way you said put forward the constructive result. So we've adapted that and put it into the new worksheet. Gracias. There's some other things at some point we'll talk about that are off base on the worksheet that you sent us, but that's another conversation. So anyway, We're delighted to have everybody's support and input on the tools, and we taught the new worksheet yesterday in the Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop. By the way, we're doing a workshop series in Boca Raton, Florida. We had an awesome group yesterday, and we videotaped the workshop yesterday. I don't know how well it's going to turn out, but we have the latest worksheet, and we're going to see if we can get that edited in a way that really works to produce a new video with the latest version of the workshop on it. And so lots of things happening. If you're in the Boca Raton area, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, anywhere in that area, come and join us tonight. We'll be doing a workshop on creating consciously, free open workshop. On Wednesday night, we'll do the workshop Healing Through Relationships, and we'll look at relationship tools, again, a free open workshop. And Friday, again, 7 to 9:30 each evening, will be Codependence to Interdependence on Friday. So we would invite you to join us and to be part of the team that changed the world. And once we're finished here, actually Saturday, it's looking like we're probably going to go ahead with Saturday's workshop. There seemed to be enough interest yesterday. So if you're in the Fort Lauderdale, Boca Raton area, tomorrow on Saturday at the Heart Painter Studio, we'll be doing Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing. That's the one workshop when we travel we do charge a fee for. If you're interested in that, let us know. We'll sign you up for that workshop. Saturday it'll start at 8 in the morning, go through till sometime between 5 and 6 in the evening. So that's happening, and then when we finish Saturday night, we're actually going to pack up and get on the road, and we've been zipping back and forth across the state of Florida more times than I care to think about, just because of the way the calendars gelled with the locations we're speaking. But Saturday night we'll drive over to Tampa, and actually we probably won't get quite as far as Tampa. We'll spend the night somewhere, and then on Saturday morning or Sunday morning we'll do the services. 2 services, one at 9:30 and one at 11 at Unity North in Tampa. And so we'll be doing that starting next Sunday. And following that will be 7 days of workshops. We'll do Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then, again, if we have enough people for Saturday, we'll do the Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing workshop in Tampa on Saturday. And then the next week we'll have a 3-day conference in Sarasota. You can look on the website to get some information about that. And that 3-day will also have a post-conference day, a 4th day, as a possibility, although we haven't confirmed it yet. And then we'll be on our way to Palm Coast, just south of St. Augustine, Florida, where we'll begin a 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again intensive on the 6th of April. So that'll be a residential, food, accommodations, everything included. That workshop is full. And we'll finish on the morning of the 14th, and then on the evening of the 14th, we'll begin a second 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again. That first one filled up within a few days of announcing it, so we decided to go ahead and do a second. And there are still, I think, 5 spaces available in that second Why Is This Happening to Me Again intensive, which will start on the 14th of April. So we've got lots going on, lots to participate in. Free workshops, paid workshops. Of course, the intensive includes awesome Heartland food, the all fresh and raw, just awesome nutritional support for the intensives. It's accommodations, food, workshops, workshop materials, everything included. You can go to the website to pick up that flyer. And then we're going to be heading to Jacksonville, Florida. We'll be doing 7 days of workshops in Jacksonville, and we're still working on what happens following that before we get back to Heartland for our summer season. So lots of things happening. Jeannie, do we have any callers? Anybody in the chat room? We had a caller on Thursday we were talking with. I hope they call back so we can continue our conversation, but what's happening?
No questions in the chat room and nobody is
No questions in the chat room. No one has a question for us on the phone. So if you are on the phone, and if you and I were sitting in a room alone, would you have a question for me? Then what we do is we ask you to ask your question. Because when you ask your question, we get real-time answers to real-time people. And so Jeannie tells me we do have a caller. What's the area code, Jeannie? 517. Sounds like Lansing, Michigan. And who are we speaking with? 517, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike, Jeannie. Hi, everyone. It's Rex.
Hey, Rex. How you doing?
I am doing great. We're having some pretty mild weather, a little rainy, but yesterday was just gorgeous.
Nice.
Short weather, outside all day in the sun is nice. I'm calling because the caller who had called in, I know, and they have the question I wanted to pose. I called them and asked them to see if they would come on, but they're not. And so I thought I would ask the question anyway because it's a great question. And the question that was posed on Thursday, Michael, was what is the sense? And I have answers for that, but I'd love to hear your explanation. I'd love to hear Dr. Tim and also David's, ideas on that. But what's the sense when we reach a point of, it's just struggle, it's hard, things just keep going on, and what do you do when you keep doing the work and it's just painful all the time? So I don't know that I'm paraphrasing it in the way that she may have wanted to say it exactly, but that would be the crux of the question, and I'll just, love to hear what you all have to say about it.
Cool. Well, if you go back to the ancient scriptures are not religious texts. They are simply, when you go to the Aramaic, they're simply, here's how life works, here's what the process looks like. And, there are a couple of points that I would bring up from there, and that is that, Job, if you read the book of Job starts out with fear, if you read that book. And then you see all the impact, all the effects of his fear, and his final conclusion is, that which I feared most has come upon me. And so if I'm living in a world where my life is nothing but struggle and pain, I need to start looking at the place in my mind, and this is what forgiveness is about, to drill down into those places to find the part of me that I've hidden from myself, with which I, number one, ask for struggle and pain, and number two, create struggle and pain. And forgiveness is about going inside and removing the struggle and pain. I don't have struggle and pain, no matter what's going on in my external environment, as my reality, unless the brain cells for that are in me. And forgiveness is about removing the content of those brain cells so that I can be freed from my struggle and pain, even if I'm with the most difficult person in the world. My understanding is that Abraham Lincoln's bride was, I guess a kind way to say it would be a major challenge. Some of the people would have some nasty words for her, but she was a major challenge. And when they said to Abraham Lincoln, why do you stay with this woman with such trauma going on? Abraham Lincoln said, where else could I get as many lessons in one lifetime? So we're here, to learn lessons, and as long as I think it has to be struggle, I'll keep generating and creating struggle. And then there's another part to it, and that is that, when you recognize that this body-mind unit contains 1,000 generations of memory, 1,000 generations of every hostility, every fear, every rage, every grief, every pain, then you realize that in order to detox that, in order to move through that, you've got to stay with the process of healing. I was talking with someone out in the West Coast this morning, and I was sharing with them back about 20 years ago. I was living in Fort Lauderdale. I'd been at this work for about 25 years at that point, and I was going through a major cleanse. When I was born, they called my father and told him that I would not live through the night. He better get to the hospital. They pulled him out of work, and he came to the hospital. And I was born in a large, public hospital. So he comes in a corridor. Imagine this, huge public hospital. He comes in a corridor and goes through a set of double doors. And I'm at the other end of the corridor. I don't know how long, but a big, public hospital. I'm at the far end, behind a set of double doors, in a room. And my father comes through at one end of that corridor, and he can hear his newborn struggling to breathe. And the first year, I was almost dead 3 or 4 times from lung problems. The first 25 years, they gave me every magic pill they could and just about totally shattered and destroyed my lungs by putting those poisons into my lungs. When I was 25, I lived on an inhaler and pills. I didn't go anywhere without breathing support, and I would grab that inhaler and use it very regularly. Once I discovered healing, I started to move into process work, and instead of drugging myself, and I haven't had drugs since then, in anything to do with my lungs whatsoever. I haven't used an inhaler. I haven't used the cortisone and all the junk that they gave me, but I've sure been detoxing it. And about 25 years ago, I went through a stage of cleansing my lungs. Now, a reflex point of the lungs is the cheek, right in the center of the cheek. If you make a circle with your hand, like an OK sign, big OK sign, and you put it on each cheek, imagine this guy who's out going around the country doing these public appearances and presenting workshops on healing. And, again, take this big OK sign and put it on your cheek on each side, and he has two huge red running sores on his cheeks. That is about 1.5 inches in diameter on each cheek, and they are scaly, they are open, they are running. I wrestled with that for 2 years. Now, people would say, well, gee, you could have just gone. In fact, I had a friend who was who had a buddy that was a physician, a skin specialist, and he said, well, why don't you go see him and see what he says? So I go, okay, I'll go see him. I mean, I'm a naturopath. I know what's going on. So I go to this medical doctor, and he says, oh, that's no problem. We can just give some cortisone cream, and we'll shut that down, and it'll be gone in no time. And I said, well, what about the fact that the skin is an eliminative organ and my body's doing elimination, and I know this is a reflex point for my lungs? He said, I don't know anything about what you're talking about. All I know is I know how to stop it. And it's like, well, would I really want, my body's doing a processing, it's releasing this through this red running sore on each cheek. Why would I want to push that back inside? Why, if my body is vital enough and strong enough to throw something off, would I want to put an end to that? And he was just like, well, I don't know anything about what you're talking about. I just know I can stop it. I said, well, thanks, but I'll pass. And that went on for about 2 years. I wrestled with that. Now, you might remember the story about Jacob wrestling with the angel till he got its message, till he got his healing. And so, yeah, we need to wrestle with whatever it is until we're willing to reach, and, we started our conversation out with consciousness, until we're willing, in the middle of a situation that seems hopeless, helpless, conflict, pain, my consciousness is that of hopeless, helpless, conflict, and pain. When I delete, when I forgive, when I remove that toxicity, and the emotions come out the same way as the physical toxicity does, I can still actually look, iridology-wise, look at the roadmap in my eye that an iridologist would look at, and I can still see some of the toxic deposits in my lungs that I will still be having, I still have to cleanse, still have to go through. But the structure, the structure can only do so much at a time. You can't storm the gates. It's a process. And when it's time, my lungs will open, and cancel this off, but maybe those spaces will open again, and I'll be delighted and excited and happy for that happening. And for me, what my pursuit has become in doing this work is I am willing to face everything that came with this package called the body-mind unit, and that I've put into it in my lifetime, and to clean it up and clean it out. It is not Dr. Feelgood. It's not a fun process to do physically, mentally, or emotionally. In fact, in the Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop, we explain the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms of healing. On a physical level, healing looks like any kind of physical symptom you've ever had and low energy. On a mental level, looks like any kind of negative thought you've ever had and confusion. On an emotional level, looks like any kind of negative feeling you've ever had and depression. Now, most people say, well, I realize that, I look back and what I know of my great-great-grandfather, my grandfather, and my father, and I watch the struggle and the rage and the hatred and the vengeance and the killing that they did. They, with their tongues and with their emotions and with their words, I watch that. I'm privy to that. I know that's been going on in my bloodline for, as far back as I can trace, and I look around at my siblings, and they're still doing it with their kids, and actually I watch my kids' kids, and they're doing it too. So now, when I say I don't want to have to do my work, what I'm saying is I want all that to change in an instant. I got $5 and 5 minutes. Tell me everything you know, and I want the process to be done yesterday. Excuse me, it's not going to happen. This is not for the weak-spirited. This is not for the wimp. This is a committed work that we're doing. In fact, I just in the last day or two was contemplating changing the name of our Mind Shifters support group to Mind Shifters work groups, because it is about doing your work. Now, there are a lot of people who don't want to do their work. A lot of people want to engage in, all kinds of highfalutin, fancy philosophies and and they want to go out and protest against war, and they want to go out and protest against this, and they want to go out and change the world, but they don't want to change what's going on inside of them. It's a tough game to do. So that would be my short answer to that question. It may not have sounded so short, Rex, but that would be my short answer. Do you have any thoughts to add to it, and or Dr. Tim or David? Do you have anything you would add to someone engaging in their process?
I'd like to respond just a little bit, Michael, and then I'd love to hear what David and Dr. Tim have to say. The one part that I heard that, very resonant with all of it, and then the last part that you're referring to is it being, it's not for the meek, and it's not for you didn't say meek, but the weak-hearted, or whatever those words were, it was about the people that aren't committed fully. And I would only add that it's accurate that the results will be given per the energy and input to the work that we do. But I would love to still include all those people that may feel like they may not be able to pull it off, that may feel very, very weak in their ability to address the deeper issues and having difficulty feeling like they have the courage to be able to meet it. And so I would really, and I know you didn't mean that, but what I would really like to do is include all of the people, even the people that can't fully commit, even if it's one a week, for heaven's sake, or one worksheet a week, or even one a month. That's still one more than what maybe a person who, like you or like myself, that are, committed in a different way could do. So that would be the only input I have, and I'd love to hear everyone else and anything else you have to say, Michael. I'm going to mute again just in case I have any noise going on in the background here.
And, of course, Rex, one of the things that we do when we teach the Why workshop, it's the first thing we do is say, start with the little stuff. Nobody has to go into, wade all the way into the deep end of the pool to start out. And, of course, the reason our workshops are free and why we travel the way we do is to make it available to every mind, heart, and being on the planet. And we invite everyone to start at whatever level they're working at, and I'm in full agreement with you. So, cool. And Dr. Tim, do you have any thoughts for us?
Well, I would just say that most of the time when I have the feelings that I would imagine are coming from the person who asked the question on Thursday, most of the time that's my mind trying to tell me, don't look here. You can't handle this. Move away from this. This isn't helping you. It's my mind divided against itself that thinks it's protecting me from something that it has labeled too intense for me to handle. And one of the things you talk about in your work is just to have the willingness to keep going. The cosmic grease here is a willingness. And I'm remembering how Guy Finley talks about it and says, there is no such thing as bad self-knowledge. All that stuff that I've buried in me, I've already lived through. And it cannot hurt me to become consciously aware of my own biases, my own fears, my own memories of trauma. All that can happen when I choose to turn and look at it and become consciously aware of it is that it no longer drives me from the blind spot. And so when I heard that question come up on Thursday, and as I've thought about it a few times over the weekend, I thought about the different times in my life where I felt like this isn't working, why do I keep doing this? And every single time, it's been right before a major breakthrough. It's been right before I take a look at something that I had been hiding from for quite a while, with the conclusion attached to it that this is not something I can handle. So I would offer that in the process, I've talked for years about the need for me to have two things, the willingness to turn around and look at something and the belief that in doing so it's going to lead to something better. And then for years I had those two things. I need to have the willingness to look at something that's going to be difficult and the belief that it's going to lead to something better. And then I stumble across a third piece that I need, and that is often I need to feel like I have a safe, supportive environment, a safety net, a lifeline. There are a lot of different ways to talk about it. So quite often it's a relationship with a therapist, a best friend, a support group, a significant other that I've come to trust over time is going to be there for me regardless. And with that safety net in place and my willingness to turn and look and the conviction that it's going to lead to something better, I can push through that barrier. So those would be my offerings.
Good input, Tim. That's awesome. And you make me think about when you say that, you bring up the thought of something that I've found to be really useful to help people to transform their pain, and that is that when we do delve into something we've been hiding from ourselves, we're delving into a memory of pain. We're not delving into pain. We're delving into a memory of pain. And if we don't know that, we can re-empower the pain and make it real, true, painful all over again. That's our creative ability. But to just keep in mind that whatever I find in here, first of all, I survived it on the way in, I'll survive it on the way out, and that when I find it, as traumatic, as horrific as it might have been, it is now a memory of pain. It is not a real present moment experience unless I turn it into one. And so as I wade through and do that 77 times 70 worksheet issue, and I keep wrestling with that angel that has a gift for me, I have the opportunity to move through everything that is held from those experiences that for me were painful, and I have the ability to change that pain. And if I can develop that new level of consciousness of myself as a human being and recognize that there is a presence of love that I can maintain a consciousness of in the presence of my pain, then, it's almost like kind of a dual awareness or a dual consciousness. I'm conscious of some old memory of pain surfacing, and I'm going to choose, and that's why step 4 in the worksheet is, I choose to connect to my newborn state. I choose to connect to the active presence of love. And I love, and I use this all the time, this quote from Rumi, who's a 13th century Sufi mystic, and Rumi says that in the presence of love, all pain becomes medicine. So if I can maintain a consciousness of love, do step 4 before I cancel the goal in step 5 and collapse into whatever's going on inside of me, before I drill down into what's going on inside of me, if I can maintain a consciousness of my true being, the active presence of love, and then I ask assistance of that super processor, that power that can go all the way down through to my genetic toes, then by so doing, I transform my pain through the presence of love, and it becomes my healing. David, do you have any thoughts for it? Oh, go ahead.
Michael, I just wanted to comment again and thank you so much for both of your responses, and I'd love to hear David as well. Dr. Tim, that's such a good reminder, and I love how this bouncing back and forth amongst us helps all of us, be reminded of areas where we might be not forgetting, but I have a tendency sometimes to take for granted what everybody knows already. And it's beautiful to hear it. And that piece is so vitally important, Dr. Tim, because every single time I have come into a major breakthrough, every single time I have come into a major breakthrough, there has been that resistor, that part of myself that comes in that says, well, maybe, we could go this way, or let's try to do that. And it used to be real strong, and it just becomes weaker and weaker in me. But the idea is that it's that defense mechanism of the brain, and it's the habitual process of us breaking through that next barrier. So I just wanted to, again, just appreciate that and reiterate, and I'd love to hear what Dave has to say.
You have any thoughts for us, David?
Yeah, my thoughts, several of them, and I'm going to use words in reply to it is thoughts. And, listening to Tim, listening to you, Michael, listening to Rex, and anyone else that would call in, I'm going to give you what my thoughts are, and it's just my thoughts. It's just it's really about me being, as you talked about, Michael, being aware of what is going on, and then kind of enjoying what's going on. Now that may sound even stranger, and to me, that's what I have done from my experience, and I can only speak from my experience. And, a person might be listening and agree with my experience. It may resonate for them, and then someone else will say, oh, well, but it's this. And that gets more into the intellectualizing of it, which is fine. There's certainly a place for that. And the real piece of it for me is for me to experience it. When I first heard that, it's like, well, I had a teacher that said, just enjoy being sick. It's like, that did not make sense to me. And my mind wanted to hold on to it. He said, if you have a code, enjoy the code. And you say things similar to that, Michael, and that, that's part of the healing process. Every time that I have done that, it really is disappearing the illusion or the lie that I have this code. So it's just an illusion with it. As long as my mind buys into it, it's kind of like a magician, seeing. I can watch a magic act. I can watch someone disappear. David Copperfield disappeared the the Statue of Liberty. Did it on TV. Millions of people watched it. There were like 700, 600, a couple hundred people that were sitting on this platform, and they were watching it. And every person that was on there that saw the Empire or the Statue of Liberty disappear, their mind said it disappeared. And there was another part of them that knew that that's an illusion. It's not true. Yet the mind wanted to figure it out and to have an understanding of it. Well, once that the illusion was exposed of how it was done, it wasn't just told. It was, at least from my perspective, I watched how the trick was done. It's a trick. It's a magic trick. It's an illusion. When I saw how the trick was done, I was told prior to, oh, well, it's all done with, quote, smoke and mirrors. Well, my mind knew that it wasn't true, and another part of my mind knew that it was. And the only way for me to see the truth was to experience it and go through it myself in a way to see it with like a capital S, seeing it, not just seeing it with my eyes, seeing how it worked. As soon as I understood how it worked, I could watch that magic trick, that illusion, for the rest of my life. And guess what? I'll never believe it. It's not true. I've seen the illusion with it. So the thoughts and staying into the thought of it is what the illusion is, and as if I buy into it, if I'm stuck into that. So how do I step out of this? It's kind of like what you were talking about, Michael. I've created all of this. It's my illusion. Let's see, what do I want to do? Am I willing to go through that process, experience it, versus challenging it so much with the mind and wanting to figure it out, and the mind always wants to figure it out. That's just the way that it works. And the mind can never figure it out. Only until someone showed me how the magic trick worked was I able to have a clear understanding of it. Now, the most people that I've come across, myself included, oh, no, don't tell me the answer. I want to figure it out. Even when I've been to a magic show, my mind wants to figure it out. And even if the person says, I'll tell you how it works, I say, nope, don't tell me how it works. I want to figure it out. And I can't figure it out. Not really, not with my mind. And so
let me throw in a thought there, David.
Yeah.
One of the quotes we use in the Why workshop is from David Bohm, who talks about sustained incoherence, and that when we apply this device that we call a mind to a problem, because the mind is the source of the problem. I should say, you can't figure it out. That's one of the pseudo solutions of the non-being mind, is that game of trying to figure it out. And one of the key points in this work is to recognize that we have an indicator when the mind is engaging in one of its magic tricks. There's an indicator that infallibly tells you that the mind is engaging in one of its illusions, and that is there any form of hostility or fear happening in you? If there is hostility or fear, then the mind has made the world of being, the world of love, disappear. The Statue of Liberty just disappeared, and now there's a reason for hostility and fear. And my mind hallucinates that whole game. So in the same way, that's a great analogy, David, or a great parallel to put in place with the whole process of forgiveness, in that, people watched and the statue seemed to literally disappear. Just the way in the middle of our struggle and our pain, love seems to disappear. And it's a trick. It never went anywhere. But, does that trick seem real? And the way that you get out of the trick is through the process of forgiveness. That's how you collapse the trick that the mind plays. And David Bohm's work there is so awesome in showing us that this sustained incoherence, when we apply what we call thinking, which really isn't thinking, to a problem, we exacerbate the problem because the source of the problem is our thinking. So, good point, David. That's a great example. Thank you. Go ahead. Excuse me.
Well, I think that covers it. Again, we can talk about this and we can elaborate, and there is a place for that. That we gather information, and then it's about applying the information. That's why we invite people to have a support group or to call in, because of the fact that I can only see it from my perspective, and when I use certain language and I take responsibility and say, okay, all right, I'll do this. I'll do 5 worksheets a day for 40 days, or I'll do 1 worksheet for 40 days, or I'll do 1 worksheet for 10 days. Whatever that it is, the whole idea of it is, in order to shift it, is to first make the commitment and then keep the commitment no matter what. Even if on the 3rd day it's like, I got it, this is what it is. No, in order to really solidify it, in order to make it a clear understanding, then just complete the agreement. The whole idea is about keeping agreements. To the degree that I'm willing to keep my agreements is the degree which my life works. It always functions in that way. When I stop doing something, then it's fine that I stop doing that. That's where it stopped. I've noticed that whenever that I've stopped and started something, I'm kind of like having a conversation with anyone, and especially if that conversation ended on some fear or hostility or resentment, whatever, the next time I see that person, whether it's a week or whether it's 10 years later, that conversation takes off just exactly of where it was before. You use an analogy, you get off the plane, doing the geographic cure. There's no cure for that as far as, or the cure for it is the forgiveness. It's about telling the truth about what is going on in my own reality. So anyway, I can go on. I like to check and see, do we have folks with questions or someone on the line or in the chat room?
Well, we did have somebody who in the chat room asked the question if it was too late to call in. And we've got about 10 minutes left, so it's certainly plenty of time to call in. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169, and we do have a caller. So area code 970. Give us a name and where are you calling from?
Hold on just a second. Hey, Michael and Jeannie. It's Carrie in Colorado. How are you?
Hey, we're blessed and highly favored. How about you, Carrie?
I'm awesome. Beautiful day out here. Great dialogue you guys have been having today. It's just been really awesome to listen to, very helpful. I'm finding a lot of valuable things in it. And I just wanted to say I listened to an older radio show this morning, and I'm trying to deal with, just old pain that I'm carrying around. I have this, sadness inside that, this person rejected me, and I know it goes back to childhood stuff. And I ended up listening to an older radio show this morning that was great, and you mentioned 4 different points that, when we start doing this work, the other person we're in relationship with may either turn up the heat. I can't remember what all 4 were, I don't think, but the one that really caught my attention was, or they may just end up being out of frequency with us. And, as soon as I heard that, I thought, it just was really helpful. And just talking about dealing with, chronic pain or whatever, our old pain that we carry around and getting through it and sticking with it. And it's just always so nice when just a light goes on and you can say, oh, yeah, okay, I can get the next step on this. And so I guess I just wanted to toss that out and say that was really helpful. And I know there's somebody else who wants to call in, so I don't want to take up too much time, but I don't know, just wanted to share that thought.
Cool. Well, we actually don't have another caller, so if you have another thought or question, we'd be delighted to hear it. And, yeah, we're blessed to have those archives available. If anybody's on the show that isn't aware of that, we've got, I think, probably now about a little better than 300 shows you can just click on. Download for either MP3s, and they include every kind of processing work that you can imagine. By the way, Carrie, we sent your DVDs out priority mail. Have you gotten them yet?
Haven't gotten them yet, but maybe today. Awesome. That's exciting.
No, they'll come in.
I'll look for them. Well, on that point, it just was that I think sometimes the pain that we carry around too, we may have a judgment in our mind of what we think the other person is doing or how they're relating to us, and to just keep clearing that, but then to also realize there's a lot of different places another person could be in. They're just doing what they're doing, and they're probably not doing something to us. They're just doing whatever they're doing, and then to just remember that whatever it is that, it just hearing that one point this morning just really helped clear a lot of energy for me. I was really excited to hear it. And I'm looking forward to listening to the DVDs and kind of getting more into the some of the ones that have to do with relationship. I'm excited about that. So
awesome. And one of the things that happens with non-being mind is it tends to take on this, exaggerated sense of self-importance. You did that just to hurt me. It's like, we got to stop thinking of ourselves as so self-important. People don't do what they do in order to do something. That happens on occasion. But most people are just doing the insanity that's in their mind because the insanity is in their mind. Even if they think they're doing it to spite or to hurt somebody, they're really not. Nobody's that important in somebody else's life. We're doing it because it's in us to do that. And when we wake up and we start to function out of a consciousness of our true original essence, then we can start to do things on purpose. Then we can start to do things consciously. And as that occurs, the things we will do will come from the space of being and from the space of love. Abuse, war, verbal, emotional, rejection, all of those things are going to simply disappear and fall away because they are tricks of the mind. They are illusions. Again, David, I love that thing on the Statue of Liberty. It looked like it really happened. And sadly and insanely, most people who have drama and trauma and pain, whatever they think caused their pain, never even happened, except as an illusion, a trick in the mind. And again, it took me years to learn this. It's why I repeat it so often. Every time your mind is tricking you, it will give you an infallible signal that it's doing one of its illusory tricks. And its signal is there's some form of hostility or fear. Whenever there is hostility or fear, the mind is disappearing the Statue of Liberty. The mind is disappearing your original created nature, which is this awesome presence of love. And it's doing that by generating an illusion. Whenever the mind is using hostility or fear, that's a signal that the mind is using corrupt data to create the world that it sees. The world that it sees is insane. And all we have to do is forgive. All we have to do is continuously and consciously. And the reason why I say continuously is because this game has been trained into us from conception. Mom believed it while we were in utero. Dad believed it. You know, the raging fights they had while we were in utero, when we were, a day old, a week old, a month old, 6 months old, a year old, 2, 5, 10, 12, 15, 18, 20. We were so ingrained with this illusion, we thought the Statue of Liberty disappeared, that it wasn't there anymore. We thought that our true, original essence, love, had disappeared, that it had left us. And it never left. And it'll never leave because it's eternal. The rest of it is all a trick.
That's an awesome reminder. Thank you for that review. That's really good. And I just wanted to toss out, too, I know you started the show by saying there's 30 countries that are at war in the world. And I've been listening to this stuff on Syria on NPR just when I get in my car. And I'm half Syrian. And boy, I just wonder inside what I can do energetically to keep helping forgive and help clear, so change can happen.
Here's what you can do. You can forgive, you can collapse the pain that you're in right now. You can do a worksheet on what's going on in Syria and what this bully is threatening to do to her. Now, of course, we say, well, it's justified, and. Yep, everyone, there's always been a rationalization. And when the Statue of Liberty disappeared, there was a justification. There was a rationalization when he pulled that trick. And everybody who gets caught in the illusion and the pain of the illusion is a contributor to sustaining that illusion. That's why the man named the physicist named Yeshua 2,000 years ago said, resist not evil. He knew the physics of evil. That is, if you were to focus on it and fight against it, you would be a contributor to it energetically. So the space I would hold for you as you have concern in your heart, and I know many Syrian people, and every Syrian person that I've met is sweet and awesome and just, they're amazing people. But they've been tricked. They've been given illusions too. And so as you open the space in your genetics to collapse that, when you look at, I cancel the goal for my country, my people to be safe, then you collapse into the part of your mind that holds threat, and you eradicate threat, and you become one less vote for that game to be perpetrated on planet Earth. And it's time for it to be done. So I definitely join with you and all of the Syrian people and all of the American people and all of those who live out of their fear filter, and that everywhere they turn they see nothing but threat, to collapse that illusion that has disappeared, their and everyone else's original being, which is love, and be restored to the active presence of love. We're here to support you in that. And if this is a conversation for us to continue tomorrow, we need to sign off now. I would be delighted if you could call in at the beginning of the show. That would be awesome. We'll continue the conversation, and everybody have the best year yet of your eternal life. Bring a stranger to the show tomorrow. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Rice, and his wife, Jeannie, who present that internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeannie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.